Welcome to Knicks Home Court with your host. My name is Greg Armstrong. This is episode number 51 of Knicks Home Court. And let's start with some news. This will be a short podcast because I have one coming up right before the season opener, talking about expectations and what I expect from the players and the team as a whole and the coach. Trey Burke was cut. Sorry, Trey. But as they say, once a Knick, always a Knick. I don't know what happened to his game. Anyhow, let me move on from that. So as I'm watching the Knicks preseason game, I would have done the podcast a little earlier, but, I've been watching the Yankee game. But as I watch, the Knicks game, I realized something, that why their defense is really bad. And part of it is the coaching wants them to switch on the picks. And the other part is it feels like the players die on the pick. When they get a pick, they just let themselves be picked. I don't see players fighting through the pick, slipping picks. Sometimes if you slip a pick, you fight through a pick, sometimes you get an offensive foul, things like that. And I guess they're using a switching type defense, sorry. So I kind of like that. That takes a lot of chemistry. It takes the right personnel. I like the idea of switching if you have the right players. Certain teams can do it very well. The best at doing the switching is Golden State. They switch everything, and that's because they have three elite defenders in Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, and Draymond Green. And Draymond Green can guard from one. So if you set a pick with Draymond Green, he's just going to switch on your point guard and lock him up. Oh, the shooting guard, he's going to just lock him up. Oh, the small forward, he's going to just lock him up. Or he can he can defend all five positions. And then you have Kevin Durant that can defend probably four of those positions. Then you have Klay Thompson that can defend three. So switching is just perfect for that team. It makes no sense for them to fight through picks when, I could just switch and guard you myself. And that's what makes that team so elite on defense. Nobody really, I don't hear much talk about that, but that's what they do. The Knicks, on the other hand, that's what I like. I like the potential with Frank Ntilikina at 6'5", and Hardaway at 6'6". They have a hole at small forward, so it looks like Courtney Lee might get the spot, who's a decent defender, So it's hard to do the switching. I would rather see them fight through picks. I think you could just teach that. I think that's easier to teach. But, if you look at the rotations, they're just not really tight right now. Like I said, it comes with chemistry. NBA players are so good, even if you're on them, they'll hit a shot in your face. It doesn't matter. But if you leave them wide open, you ever watch, I'm sure you've seen NBA players practice. They'll hit 15 shots in a row. It's no big deal. They shoot, most NBA players, at least, especially the ones who shoot a lot, they putting up 500 shots a day, things like that. So, and you notice they have a trainer there running at them, throwing their hand up. So they're used to that. It looks like practice to them. It looks like practice to them. That's why they don't even, if they miss a shot, it's on them. So I would really appreciate, I would like to see the Knicks practice that a little bit more, or have players that do that. It apparently, and the thing is, if you're going to slip a pick or try to get over a pick, I think that the communication needs to be stronger. I think that, they got to let the players know that a pick is coming, but the communication and the understanding has to be, if we're switching, everybody switch. If we're slipping picks or getting over picks, then that's fine. But if we're switching, we can't try to get over a pick and then switch, because then you throw the whole defense off. If we're switching automatically, which negates the pick, that's the whole point of switching, is negating the pick and not leaving any player with any open space. I get it. Okay. But you have to commit to that. You can't try to slip the pick and, I got really picked, so I'm just going to switch off to this man. And I see it, and it leaves the team scrambling. But they are getting better. It takes a lot of effort and energy to do this. They are getting better. I see the effort is there. And That's all you can ask for as a player, is to try hard. That's all you can. That's all you can ask for. The offense, on the other hand, I think is starting to look really good. Slowly but surely, you're starting to see little plays. I see little wrinkles and stuff like that. Doug McDermott, there has been a Doug McDermott sighting. He's trying to make a play for that small forward position, and I really wouldn't mind it because, again, now I'm going to say something, and people may disagree with this, but I think that Michael Beasley should be out of the rotation. I think he should be like the 11th man. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets cut this year. Not because he's a bad player, because he thinks he's better than what he is, and I don't know how he's going to handle being out of the rotation, but I think he should be out of the rotation. Because I feel like when I was watching the Knicks game, and I was seeing McDermott come off of down screens to get open shots, and he plays within the offense. Surprisingly, Tim Hardaway is playing within the offense. I love to see the players play within the offense unless you have no choice. If you look at Michael Beasley, he doesn't really play within the offense. To me, he stagnates the offense and the player and the ball movement. He'll stop on the post and he posts up. He kind of do Melo light, but he's nowhere near the scorer of Melo. See, Melo can do that because Melo's a scorer like that. But this guy, I like the motion. If you notice when Golden State, and I'd like to mention Golden State because they're the best team. That's what everybody's reaching for. But you ever notice there was a time, I remember when Kevin Durant, like when he first got there and they was trying to work out the kinks, and it was I think it was a half end of the half situation, and Steph Curry was about to run the play, and Kevin Durant just was like, give me the ball, I'm gonna take this ISO over here. And Draymond got mad, and Draymond told him, like, listen, this shit has to come in the flow of the offense, man. You can do your thing, you can get all your shots, but it needs to come in the flow of the offense. This is not OKC. It has to come in the flow of the offense. And if you look at it, I mean, why shouldn't I pay attention to what Golden State do? They're the best team in the league, one of the best teams probably in history. They're going to go down as one of them. And with a player as good as Kevin Durant that basically can scorch anybody, he plays within the system. He plays within the offense and still gets the shots. He actually gets better shots because he plays within the system. This is why I don't want Beasley anywhere on the court with these young developing players that are playing within the system, because young players will play within the system because they want to get playing time. And I like what McDermott was doing, coming off the down screen, curling, hitting three-point shots, penetrating. He played very well. If he's going to play like that, well, I don't expect him to play like that, but if he's going to be aggressive like that, hey, But the funny thing is, I'm thinking about the first game of the season. Good Lord. I think the first 3 games are brutal. But let's just talk about the first game. See, everybody's worried about Russell Westbrook. Look, Russell Westbrook is going to kill and crush anybody in front of him. He's a cyborg. That's what he is. My main concern is small forward. And not Carmelo, but Paul George. I think people are sleeping on Paul George. He's 6'9", athletic, great two-way player, and it's like, who's gonna guard Paul George on the Knicks? If you start Courtney Lee, it's just gonna be abusive. He's just too big for Courtney Lee. You're talking about 4 inches and long arms. If you start Damian Dotson, he's gonna abuse that rookie. If you start Doug McDermott, it's just like Beasley. I mean, it's just we have no matchup for him at small forward. So I don't even know what to tell you on that one. Like I said, Courtney Lee wouldn't be a bad option because Courtney Lee is going to play tight D, but he's going to shoot right over Courtney Lee. But again, we'll see what happens. But it just popped in my head while I was watching the Knicks game. I was like, oh, Lord, what they going to do? A small forward when they go up against Paul George? Even though I know that great players score on anyone, but imagine you have, let's think Kevin Durant playing small forward, and you got Courtney Lee trying to guard him. I mean, he's going to go for 50. You know what I'm saying? It's like, wow. So I don't know. It's that's the hole on the Knicks right there. It's the small forward position. That's the real hole. And I think throughout the season, and Hornacek even alluded to it, I think his starting lineup is gonna change possibly based on opponent. Because some small forwards are just devastating, and you got to put at least a bigger guy on him. You can't put a 6'5" guy on him. You may have to put like I could see Lance Thomas possibly starting next Thursday. And that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean he's going to be a starter. It doesn't mean he's going to be a permanent starter. But Lance Thomas is a better option to put on the court against Paul George. I haven't liked Lance Thomas this preseason. I never realized how flat-footed and slow he looks. But he's your best small forward defender. So he might have to be out there against Paul George in the game one. I think that'll be a decent matchup. Paul George still scores points, but he probably won't go for 50. And I want to talk about developing young players. I think Cantor's going to start. I think he should start. Right after the trade, I was saying he's going to start. I actually was happy about the trade because, first of all, we had to get rid of Melo. I won't say get rid of Melo, but Melo needed to be traded because I didn't want him to be a malcontent. I don't know if he would have been. That's never been his character. But it just was so much. It's like I said, when a relationship is that far gone, it's nothing to do. Even if you don't hate each other, it's like we got to move on. And to me, I don't think the Knicks did bad by getting Kanter and McDermott. Again, you can't look at Carmelo and say we only got Kanter, McDermott in the second round pick. You have to compare to what other teams are getting for their star players. That's the only way you're going to know the value of a trade. Not by just saying, oh, Carmelo's good. You got to say, well, Paul George is better and they didn't get as much. So that's how you evaluate a trade, just like how you evaluate Tim Hardaway's contract. You got to look at other players. Gary Harris just got $84 million. Yes, $84 million. And he might be a better player than Tim Hardaway eventually, but he's not right now. And he just got $84 million. Anyway, I digress on that. So I wanted to talk about Hernangomez. A lot of people like him. I like him. I think he's good. I think he could be a good NBA player. If anything, a rotation player. A lot of people think that he should be a starter. I'm not sure about that. I'm always wary of players putting up good stats at the end of the season when the games don't count, when there's no pressure. A lot of players put up good numbers like that. Ricky Davis was famous for that, old basketball player. He put up great numbers at the end of the season when it didn't count because he was playing playground ball out there. That was Ricky Davis I'm talking about. So I don't know if y'all remember years ago there was a Marty Collins. And Marty Collins did the same thing. He was almost averaging triple-doubles the last 10 games of the season. We thought we had our point guard of the future. Always beware of the end of the season spurt by a young player. You really should take that with a grain of salt. You should say, okay, he has this ability. Let's see when it counts in the beginning of the season if he could play like that. Then you have a good player. I think Hernangomez is good. This preseason, he hasn't been really great, but he hasn't also played consistent minutes. I feel like Hornacek is jerking around his rotation a little bit, but hey, he's doing what he got to do. We'll see what happens. And I know some people are mad that Kyle O'Quinn has been getting a little bit more time than Hernangomez, and there's a reason behind that. I got to respect it because he plays better defense than Hernangomez. He's actually the best defensive center the Knicks have. And he's a better passer than Hernangomez. Yeah, he throws some erratic passes, but he's a better passer. So my thing is, for y'all Hernangomez lovers, he needs to outplay O'Quinn. He needs to outplay Kanter to get on the court. Do I think he should be the third center off the bench? No. I think he should be the second center, and I think he should get a lot of time, at least 20 to 25 minutes a game. Yes, I want that. I want that for him. But if he's not showing that in practice, see, what coaches look for when you come back from your off season, they're looking for improvement. They're looking for conditioning. They want to see what you did. They want to know, are you dedicated to this game? We already seen what Kristaps did. We seen what Hardaway did. Cantor then lost 20 pounds. What did Hernangomez do? He played in the summer. He played the Euro Summer League. I mean, that's great. He did good there. I appreciate that. So you really got to earn your minutes. You got to earn your time. This is not charity. You're getting paid. It's not like you're not playing and not getting paid. And I want to see Hernangomez, but you know what? Competition is healthy. You know, Tim Hardaway Jr. had to go to the D-League, now formerly known as the D-League. He had to go down and prove himself again. Ain't nothing handed to you in this league. And to me, so far, I haven't really been impressed by the little bit of time I've seen Hernangomez on the court. Now, give him time. He's only 22. I hear that. And we'll see. So, again, I always tell people that I'm the kind of Knicks fan that I don't care. I root for the jersey, man. I don't root for the player. I root for the jersey. So if the player who's wearing the jersey is balling out, I want him to play. I don't care if he's 35. I want him to play. If you can't beat out a 35-year-old, you don't deserve to be on the court, homie. And guess what? You got Noah, 12-game suspension. I tell you what, Hernangomez better establish himself as a strong number 2. Because we know that Noah's a good player. He's just hurt all the time. That's the problem. You know, again, I believe things will iron itself out. I believe there's a trade in the works eventually. One of those centers are going to get traded. Don't be surprised if it's Hernangomez. Don't cry crocodile tears if it's Hernangomez. Your job is to improve the team. Don't be mad if it's Cantor. But one of them, it might be Kyle O'Quinn. He has a reasonable contract. He fits in with the Celtics. He fits in with Golden State. We'll see. So, you know, you got to pay attention to those things. I mean, what else on this Saturday morning before I get into my day and not get ready for these Giants? Because I ain't trying to watch the Giants. Lord. Woo! Well, the Knicks started off 0-5 in the preseason. Maybe they could be like the Baby Bombers. Who knows? Who knows what could happen? But I know one thing. A lot of people are expecting the Knicks to be really bad, less than 30 games. And that's really bad. If the Knicks win less than 30 games and Kristaps is supposed to be your franchise player, and you have a player like Hardaway, who's not a great player, but who's a good player, and you have Courtney Lee. I mean, they don't have a bunch of scrubs. They're not like the Sixers, who had non-NBA players playing. No, they got players on their team that other teams would take. They need to win. I believe that, well, again, I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to save that for the next podcast. But with a player like Porzingis, I'm expecting bigger things than what they're saying out here. I'm expecting them to just be better. And a lot of people will point to, look at Karl Anthony Towns. He played really good in Minnesota. It was still really bad. Yeah, that's true. But he also had another young player with him in Wiggins. And he also played in the West. And for comparison, for all the Melo lovers or haters, Melo's first year in the league, his team improved by at least 24 games. Just wanted to take note of that. And that brings us to the end of this podcast. Knicks Home Court, episode number 51. I am your host. My name is Greg Armstrong, and I will be back with a season preview basically just the Knicks. I'm not going to preview other teams and things like that. But wait a minute. I wanted to talk about something really quick. I've been hearing this little comparison between the Knicks and the Nets and who's in better position for the future. One thing I want the listeners of this podcast, what I want y'all to do, because it's something that goes on that I can't stand that a lot of people do. The Knicks have a new regime. They have a new general manager, a new president. Yes, I know Steve Mills been there, but like I always tell you about the underlings, a lot of underlings don't wield any power. So when I hear people talk about the Knicks' direction and where they're going, I'm always hearing, like, for some reason, people can't analyze what's going on now. They always got to analyze us in the last 15 years, which is not smart. That's not a smart thing. You can't analyze a team. I mean, if that's the case, then we got to analyze the Nets with Billy King and that disaster of a trade they made, probably the worst trade in the history of basketball. Literally. That's probably the worst trade in the history of basketball, when they traded all those picks away. So they have a new regime, and they've been given the benefit of the doubt. And that's all Knicks fans want for the Knicks. Now, as far as what team has the better future, I'm going to say the Knicks. Why? Because I'm a Knicks fan? No. I'm going to say the Knicks because we have Kristaps Porzingis. We have Kristaps Porzingis, who supposed to be a franchise guy. Once you got your franchise guy, you're ahead of the curve. Now, if D'Angelo Russell proves to be a franchise guy, then they're ahead of the curve. I like what the Nets are doing. I don't hate the Nets. I don't root against the Nets. I want to see them do well. It's still New York. I'm not one of them people that hate. Maybe I'm lucky to be a Yankee fan and a Giant fan, but I notice that Met fans hate the Yankees and are happy when they lose, and sometimes Jet fans hate the Giants. I don't understand it. I think that's kind of a losing mentality. If my team loses, I don't care what your team does. I just want my team to win. And I want your team to lose if it means my team's going to be in a better position. That's it. That's all. So I just believe because we have this franchise player in Kristaps Porzingis, that puts us in a better position going forward. Plain and simple. Because at the end of the day, if you have a collection of decent players and good players, you're going to have that ceiling. You're going to hit that 4-seed ceiling, that 5-seed ceiling. You need a franchise player. You need a transcendent player to win a championship in the NBA. You need that. You don't win with just a bunch of good players. Not in the NBA. You need somebody who's a superstar. And that point has been proven without a shadow of doubt. And we supposedly may have one. And speaking of Kristaps, as I was saying earlier, if he's your guy, if he's your unicorn, like we all say he's the unicorn, then the Knicks need to have a better season than the pundits are saying. Because this is year number 3, not year number 1. Again, I told you, Melo came to Denver and they made the playoffs 10 straight years after that. Or 9 straight years, I don't know exactly, but they went straight to the playoffs. Same thing with, no, they didn't make the playoffs right away with LeBron. I don't think they did. Did they make the playoffs that first year? I don't know, and I'm not even going to look it up. But my point, I'm sure you understand my point, is he's in year 3. So I keep hearing people say he's going to be such a great player, but the Knicks are going to suck this year. He's going to take a big leap forward, but the Knicks are going to suck. That shouldn't go hand in hand. You got to be about winning. And if you are the leader of this team and you're the unicorn and you're special as you're supposed to be, and I believe you are, the Knicks should win some games. They should win more than people believe. The burden of Melo has been lifted. Now let's see what you could do, young fellow. Again, I gave a little extended time. Again, this has been Knicks Home Court, episode number 51. I'm your host, Greg Armstrong. I'll be back at you before the week's end, before the season starts, with a Knick preview. And we'll be talking about expectations. And if you have any ideas of what you might want to hear me talk about, put it in the comment section. I appreciate it. I read all the comments. I don't comment back because I try to save it for the podcast if I'm going to respond to any of the comments. So everybody have a good day. Peace.